Architectural conservation, I would say, is actually the building science behind restoring historic structures.
A conservator is really thinking about the materials and the interaction of the different materials. So they're worried about how the materials will last in terms of degradation and interaction with the environment and human intervention.
This question, we've definitely spoken about it with multiple conservators. I feel like it can be used interchangeably, and at times it definitely is. Soiling, though, in my opinion, happens to be more with like atmospheric staining versus staining, where it kind of is a result of another material kind of leaving marks onto adjacent material.
The distinction that I make is soiling is superficial. It's something that's deposited on the material. Staining is something that has depth or has penetrated the material.
I was working on a subway station from 1903 in downtown Manhattan. We opened up a wall. We found the wall had been repaired several times. In the base of the wall there were bottles from about 1904. And then further up in the wall were newspapers from the 60s and 70s.
I haven't really found buried treasure, but I've been very excited about certain things I have found.
I used to work at an old tenement house, and we had to stabilize the ceiling, and in doing that we had to remove the floorboards from the floor above to remove the weight that the ceiling was that the ceiling had. And in doing that, we found old clothes such as ties and thimbles and playing cards from residents that were living there back in like the late 1800s, which was really cool.
It was at Princeton University, and what they were doing is that they were trying to expand underneath the existing dormitory. So they were digging into the hill. It was this storm that came down the hill, and they dug into the hill, and so there was a lot of excavation that happened. And the architecture and conservator team that was on the project decided to really highlight some of the artifacts that they found. So they found old medicine bottles, they found old alcohol bottles, but from like the turn of the century, so like the early 1900s. And they found fragments of different things, pencils, pens, and they made a display case of all the stuff that they found. And they also did a really great job of, if there was a really cool looking stone, they put it in the wall that they created, or if there was like old brick that they found in terms of the rubble, they made an architectural pier out of it. So they really made the material artifacts as part of the architecture and part of the embodiment of the history of the building. It was very cool.
Definitely the history.
Probably the everyday is different. You don't know what you're going to encounter on a building, so you have to be up for a challenge every day and a different challenge, because no two buildings are alike.
Seeing the historical artisanship and the historic materials and the way things were put together back then was just, it's fascinating, and to see how that has lasted for so long, or hasn't lasted, but.
I just answered that. Dang it. Sorry.